Oh, I'm taping here. We're live. Hello everybody. Hey girls. And I say girls because most of my audience are women. I haven't been filming like I said I was going to. I have a few videos that I've like filmed, but then like I just haven't uploaded them because I felt like then that things happen. So I wanted to come to you guys. If you can read the title, if you know anything about what HG is, well, first, I guess, if you don't, surprise, I'm pregnant. Oh, yeah. See if you can see that. Yeah. So yes, I am pregnant. I have a condition called HG, which is hyperemesis gravidarum. I don't think I'm saying that last one right, but my doctor just always says hyperemesis or HG. But it is a rare condition. Only like up to 2% of women actually experience it, which is like extreme morning sickness throughout your whole pregnancy. And when I say morning sickness, it's because people always categorize it as morning sickness because you're pregnant and you're throwing up or nauseous, but that is just a part of it. And it's like all the time. It's not morning. It doesn't stop after so many weeks or whatever. So I'm going to give you my story, tell you a little bit about what's going on. So I found out I was pregnant in the beginning of October. Very beginning of October. I literally was like 3 weeks pregnant when I found out. Right. Like Pete on a stick. It was very faint. I was like, whoa. What's so whoa about this is because I said to my husband, you know, I want to start trying soon, but I want to turn 30. Want to get I had a cruise coming up. I want to have my little cruise. And we can start trying then. So my birthday was on the 8th of September. My cruise was like a week later. And then the first week of October, very first week of October, like beginning, and found out I was 3 weeks pregnant. So y'all do that math. Yeah. I didn't even get to be 30 for real, y'all. This is so ghetto. So yeah, I found out I was pregnant. And I didn't tell anybody really because like as I found out and I was trying to like the dust settle with myself, meaning like accepting that I'm pregnant myself, my sister went into labor. So if you've like been on my channel for a while, you've used some OGs with me. Hey girl, hey. You know I have an older sister, and my older sister now has 3 sons. So her son was born the beginning of October, that weekend, first weekend of October. And so I felt like this is her shine. You know, I absolutely adore my new little nephew. He is a hoot. He's a little old man. He just be chilling. He be like you know, one of them babies. He be chilling. And so I waited a little while, but I felt fine. I had HG with my first son as well, but it went away about I would say around 28 weeks, 29 weeks, but that's when I got put off work. So I don't know if that was a coincidence or what. So like we're in week 4 or 5 at the time, and it's like, okay, the first way that I like the kind of let me test was I didn't even miss my period yet, but the let me test was throwing up. Like, oh, the smell of something just kind of made me throw up. And so my contractual supervisor was like, oh, you're pregnant. And I was like, girl, bye. And sure enough, I was. And so I was fine until about week 5 or 6. I think I had told my family by then that I was pregnant, but I started to just, you know, get sick. And it's not like, oh, after you eat, you're fine, or once you lay down, you're fine. Like I was like throwing up like a few times a day for a little bit. Like I think for like the first few days, it was like 3 or 4 times a day. So I won't get really graphic with you guys, but yeah. And then it just like went to shit. So the end of October, beginning of November, I was throwing up so much. I had nothing in me. So I started to go to the hospital to get fluids. One of the first times I went to the ER for fluids, they sent me, well, like after about a week going to the ER, they sent me to the L&D floor, labor and delivery floor, to get fluids. They were like, you kind of coming all the time, your OB sent you over, so we're just going to send you up to labor and delivery. And usually labor and delivery, I'm sorry, my hair's bothering me. Labor and delivery doesn't bother, like, to have you in their floor until you're a certain amount of weeks pregnant. But I was very, very early. But my doctor was like, we're going to send you up, because I got stuck 7 times before they were able to get an IV in me one time. And I was like, no, we're not doing this. So my doctor ordered a PICC line. So what a PICC line is a line that goes from your arm. Mine was in my arm to my heart, but it's like it's like one of your central veins, so that they can pull blood and give you IVs and medications. But it was only able to be used in the labor and delivery or ER. Yeah. Actually, one time I was in the ER and they wouldn't even use it. They were like, we don't have something. They had to do a CAT scan or something, and it was gonna take too long, so they just hooked me up on my other arm. So I was going in for fluids, and that was fine. It was like, okay, you're saying we're getting you hydrated, but then I stopped eating. So they put me on Zofran first, Zofran and Reglan. And I was on Zofran and Reglan, and hold on, I hope you guys can hear me, because my hand has been really over the microphone. My bad. They put me on Zofran and Reglan for a few weeks, and I was going to get fluids. But then we ran into, now I'm not vomiting as much, but I'm not eating at all. Which, it's like you're throwing up anytime you eat, and then you're throwing up even if you don't eat. And I'm sorry for just sounding so graphic for anyone who has a weak stomach. It was just, it was really bad. So for me, I stopped eating, and it went downhill really quick. So within a couple of weeks, I had lost 12 pounds. My doctor was like, whoa. So they sent me, I went to the ER one day, and they admitted me. I was admitted. They were saying that there was, had a urinary tract infection. Like all these different things were going on. Like I don't even remember half of it, because I felt like I was just kind of sleep in and out. So we went into the ER one night. My husband had my son and me. Like it was that bad. Like you don't want to take your kid to an ER if they're not being treated in the middle of the night. But it was that bad. So then my husband went home with the baby, because they admitted me. And the next day, I think my son went to daycare, and my husband was going to work, and then he came to see me. His supervisor was like, go to your wife, she's in the hospital. But they were like, we have to do something about you not eating. So they decided to give me an NG tube. So a nasal gastric tube, I believe it is. So it is a tube that goes in your nose, and it bypasses your throat, and it lands in your stomach. So they had to get an x-ray. I got way more x-rays than you would think as a pregnant person. They put it in, then had an x-ray to make sure that it's placed in the right place. And this tube had beads on the bottom, like metal beads, to weight it down to keep it in your stomach. And then once they place it where it's supposed to be, they would just, mark it and then tape you up. And so then you have a tube in your nose. And they would hook that up to a machine and feed me. So I was in the hospital, and they did that. And then once they were like, okay, she's used to it, I got to go home, and I had home health to come out. They showed my husband how to do it, and my husband was feeding me through the tube. At this point, once I had my PICC line, I wasn't able to pick my son up because he was over 10 pounds. My son is almost 2, and he's a big boy. So I couldn't pick him up. And then, of course, I get home. I have this tube in my nose. I have this thing in my arm. And so, for the most part, I kind of just stayed in the bedroom away from my son, which I felt so horrible about. I would wheel sometimes to the other room. But Once I started on my feeds, which took 12 hours to give me, it's hard to be with my son because literally it's a tube onto a machine that has a bag full of food. And I say food because that shit is disgusting. And so I had to do that for a while before, and I was able to start maintaining my weight. I threw up my tube once. I had to go to the ER. They put it back in. Happened again, and I was so tired. I was done with it. I didn't want it anymore. So we went into the ER, and my husband is sitting there. He's witnessed me get my tube placed once, and he was horrified. The first time he wasn't there. Unfortunately, he had to be at work. And they didn't tell me that they were doing it that night, that they did it. And I had no one there. They had to place it, and then I had to wait. Because it has, like, once they put the tube in, it has like a wire in it to kind of get it down your throat. And then once they know it's placed correctly, they pull the wire out of the inside of the tube. And so, like, I was stuck there. I was at the hospital crying. This nurse was in there helping me. She was just like an angel because she was not my nurse. She just came and sat with me until, she called radiation again to get them to come so they can take the x-ray to see where it is to pull it out. So then once I had to do it at the ER, my husband saw it and was like, oh my God. So third time, it was clogged, and that's what happened. It didn't come out. It was clogged. So the night before, my doctor had already said to start me on, try to do soft diet. Meanwhile, I was on a liquid diet at this time. Couldn't have any solids. And so my doctor said, soft blend as tolerated. So that night, during that day, like, we tried that night and it was clogged. And my home health nurse came out and was like, oh, well, you need to go into ER. That night I had tried mashed potatoes and I kept them down. So the next day we went into the ER and they tried to put some clog buster in it. That's what they called it. And it wouldn't work. And so they were like discussing, oh, we're going to have to just replace her tube. I could hear them outside my door saying that they're just going to replace the tube. So I pulled it out. My husband looked at me like I had 15 heads on my face, like on my face, heads on my face. That don't even make sense, but that's how he was looking at me, like, what in the world? So I just took some deep breaths and I just started pulling, and I pulled the tube out. And he was looking at me because the medicine that they put in there, it started to stink, and I felt myself getting sick. My HG triggers were smells. The smell of my son, like, I felt so horrible, but my son, my husband, like, just smells, the smell of food being cooked made me sick. Everything made me sick. And so, yeah, I definitely had some aversions, and so that smell was like, I was like, I'm about to start throwing up. And so I pulled the tube out. I came back, like, the nurse came back and was like, oh my God, y'all said y'all were gonna pull it out. I said, so look, I have a doctor's appointment in a day or two. If she says to come back and put it in, I'll come back. I'll let you guys put it in, but for right now, I don't want this back in. Thank you. And they couldn't do anything. The nurse talked to me, the physician assistant talked to me, the doctor talked to me. I don't want this back in. I ate mashed potatoes and I kept it down. Leave me alone. So I went to my doctor. She said, you've been keeping down food? I said, I've been keeping down plain mashed potatoes. Been keeping down broth. I don't want it. She said, okay. I will see you in a week or two. Maintain your weight. We'll see. I gained 2 pounds. She was happy. So from start to finish, I lost 23 or 4 pounds. Yeah, so that was the rough patch of my HG, and it didn't go away. You would think, like, oh, you go through that first trimester, that's why people think, like, oh, it'll be gone by 16 weeks or whatever. No, I'm just heavily medicated now. I was on Zofran, Reglan, and It's one, but it's promethazine pretty much. And then my insurance was stopped. Like I can only have so many Zofran in a month. Fought the insurance, lost. And so then they gave me, it starts with a D, Diglisic or something like that. And so that's what I've been taking mostly. The Reglan and promethazine make me so sleepy, and I still have my son who gets up in the middle of the night. He's no longer nursing because of the stuff that they were giving me through my tube. Those couple weeks it's a milk base, and my son can't have dairy, so he had to wean. Unwillingly. So I am now 6 months. I don't throw up as often. If I do, it's very sporadic, like once or twice a week. And I'm heavily medicated, but the nausea is still there, so it kind of makes me not want to eat. But I have gained my weight back. I gained back 10 pounds in a month or something. It was something crazy. And my doctor was very happy. I was eating protein shakes, but then she told me to stop because I can mess with my preeclampsia and like gestational diabetes. I can get that stuff. So she was like, "Don't be doing that. Like, no, don't give yourself protein shakes and stuff." Like, I was like, okay. So I'm back to my, like, pretty much at my pre-pregnancy weight, but I have not gained more weight at 6 months. So I just eat when I feel the need to. It's good to have a toddler because my son is always snacking. He'll snack you to death. So I snack with him, which helps me. So yeah, y'all, that was just really like about just HG. So I have HG, but HG doesn't have me because I'm trying to maintain. Now, with my son, I was sick so bad during labor. My doctor told me I would be. Didn't know. So Diglisic was what I was on with my son as well. I was on Zofran and Diglisic, but Zofran has its own side effects, like constipation and headaches, really bad. And I stayed on Diglisic, but it wasn't as high of a dose as I am now. So now I'm on it around the clock as to kind of stay in my system. I actually do for my medication now, so I'll be running in the house to do that. So yeah, I might do a what to know about HG video, if people want to kind of know. What I did want to do is make a video with myself like half dead making this video, because that's what a lot of people do, and yes, that is the reality of it. However, I don't want people to not be hopeful that you can actually maintain yourself. Some people are still working. I was not able to. I am looking for a job. My pregnant butt out here interviewing, but that's another video. If y'all want to hear about that, let me know. So yeah, I didn't want to look half dead. And the videos that I've seen, I've had my PICC line removed. As you can see, I don't have the NG tube anymore. And then my primary care doctor was like, the nurse at the doctor was like, you put your tube out and left the hospital. Like, they wrote that in there. Like, I was just being crazy. And I was like, it wasn't even like that. Like, I had to explain to my doctor, who finger wagged me to death about it. But I'm doing okay. I'm definitely maintaining. Yeah, I just can't wait for this to be over. So yeah, I will talk to you guys later. We'll see about that other video, and I will be bringing you content very soon. So I love you guys. Thank you. Bye.